Well, welcome back to the Steve Rob Show. Today, we're going to have some fun. That's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to have some fun. Okay, today, the topic is going to be hunt camp owner. I'm a hunting camp owner, and what do I do? What do I think you should do? This is going to be about what I do. Now, guys, I'll just explain my experiences of being a hunting camp owner, and got something right here. I want to show you this right now. I got my gloves on right here. I'm going to show you part of the conversation today. Guys, this is one of them deep fryer deals. And you see how nasty that is in there. And of course the rest of it is all up at my camp. And this is all part of being a hunting camp owner. So, let's get to it. I got a little bit of paperwork down here. We're going to talk about being a hunting camp owner and why we're not seeing no deer or no moose up at my hunting camp. So let's get to it right now. Okay guys, I got a little bit of paperwork here. First off, I just like to mention one of the fellas in my November hunting vid mentioned to me, what kind of coffee do I drink up there? Well guys, all we buy is Maxwell House. A lot of people think we drink Tim Hortons coffee up here. Guys, Tim Hortons coffee is not my first choice. I'll tell you that right now. Up here, if I'm going to get a coffee on the road, I'd stop and get a McDonald's coffee anytime. I don't know if it's the same across the world, McDonald's coffee, but up here, McDonald's just blows Tim Hortons right out of the water as far as I'm concerned. And I have an inside scoop on how that happened, and that's going to be another vid in the future probably. Okay, so let's get started right here on being a hunting camp owner. Guys, that place I have up north, I never bought that for a cottage. I don't go up there, and it's not like a place where the family goes and it's like a cottage like a lot of people use. My wife has only been up there once the day that I bought the place. Never been there. My oldest daughter's never been there. My youngest daughter does go up there. Yeah, she goes up there with me the odd time when I'm doing some construction work and help me out and that kind of stuff. But no, it's not like a cottage. I don't go up there like a lot of people do on every weekend. It's like their cottage. This for me was a piece of property that I bought a long time ago for strictly a hunting camp and just for my friends. Now, whenever I do something, I always look at what's the upside, the downside, and what my liabilities are. If you have nothing to lose, guys, you never have to worry about that. But for me, yeah. So, yeah, you have to think about what you're doing before you actually get into it. And all I can recommend to anybody, that if you want to operate a hunting camp, do it all above board. Don't try and make money being a hunting camp owner and not get insurance, not tell the government, not get the proper permits, not do everything the way you're supposed to. What do? I do not operate my place at a profit. There's no way that I want to get involved with all the liabilities. I only have friends of mine come up, and we have had other guys that come up that I really don't know, but of course I get introduced to them, and we all say whether these people are acceptable to come up or not. Yeah, and there's a big liability. I know guys who run their hunting camps at a profit, and they're putting themselves at a lot of risk. I don't do that. Is your hunting camp for business or is it for pleasure? If you're running it for business, guys, good luck, because there's not a lot of money in being a hunting camp owner, for the amount of weeks that you do have the hunting season. And yeah, if you're, getting a lot of guys in and that kind of stuff, yeah, you can make some money, but there's a lot of liability too. I'm going to use a perfect example of about 15 years ago. There's a magazine up here called Ontario Out of Doors. And it was a guy that just went to his buddy's hunting camp, just like my friends do. They come up to my place. And he had fell down and hurt his leg, I believe, somehow. But he hurt it bad enough that he had to be off work for an extended period of time. Well, when you fill out your sickness and accident report and everything else, and you tell them, like, I was on vacation and I was up at my buddy's hunting camp and I fell down and I hurt myself and blah, blah, blah. Well, what did the insurance company do? They sued the guy's hunting camp, the guy who owned the hunting camp. They sued him. And they took him to court and everything else. And the insurance company lost for the only reason being is the guy was not making a profit. He was just running it with a bunch of friends that come up, and he was not doing it for a business. So they lost in court. But if the guy would have been making a profit off of this, that would have been a whole different ball game. And that's where the liabilities come in. So for me, what do? I charge the guys that come up to my place $30 a piece. So last year there was only 4 of them. So $30 a piece. And what does that cover? Well, the propane, my gas for my generators, utensils, cups, toilet paper, soap. I got these new hand sanitizers that I put all over the place. Like in the washrooms, there's brand new hand sanitizers and, fancy toilet paper dispensers. And of course, I built another outhouse last year. Paper towel, I provide the coffee, and I bring up all the water for the week, to be used. And guys, I guarantee you, I do not make any money off of this. Most of the time, I would say I lose money, and I don't mind it because a lot of the stuff that I'm bringing up there is for my own benefit as well. Now, take for instance that deep fryer deal. Guys, I think that was like $100. Now, I bought it for the hunting camp, for the guys at hunting camp. I'd never use that, for the rest of the year. Only in the fall would use that. So that's where I take a little bit of, say, the $30 from every guy from every year, and I buy something, for everybody's benefit that comes up. Now that is, to me, I don't like that type of deep fryer stuff. It's got a stand like this with a propane tank attached and everything. Guys, that's going out the window. You won't see that anymore. I'm planning on building something different this year. And of course, it's going to be for the benefit of the guys at the hunting camp. I'm not going to ever use this unless, in the fall. So look forward to that. I'm going to build that this winter. But, okay. Now, how do you decide how much you should charge? Well, guys, you're going to have to go through a couple of years first and find out how much your costs are to figure out how much you're going to charge. But I guarantee you, I'd like to hear if there's anybody else that goes to a hunting camp and they're charged $30 or less. Because I don't think you'll find a hunting camp where they charge you $30. For me, it's just strictly friends and that kind of stuff. And $30 to go to a hunting camp for a week is pretty low price. So, now, matter of fact, 2 of the fellows that come up to my place like the hunting camp, so much that they bought their own camp about a half an hour away from me. So, yeah, so it's worked out great, and now we're going to have like 2 hunting camps back and forth. And these guys stay at my place anytime they want. They got keys to the place. They can go up when they feel like it. So, for $30 a year, I don't think I'm making any profit. And that's the way I like it. And I don't mind it if it costs me a couple of bucks here and there. And that's another thing. When you get guys coming up to your hunting camp, you got to really know who you're bringing up. Because for me, I won't bring up guys that are, that just want to sit there and drink all day long. No. There's no drinking while you're hunting. You got to have, your basic rules of safety and that kind of stuff. And as a camp owner, you have to have some stuff in there that makes sense. Like you have to have fire extinguishers. You have to have a little bit of preventative stuff in case something happens. Like a first aid kit. Actually, one of the buddies there that comes up, he brought me up the first aid kit you see on the wall there. So we all kind of pitch in together, and I thought that was fantastic. So you have to have a first aid kit. You have to have some way of everybody getting along together. And I've been going to hunting camps since 1974. And guys, I've gone to hunting camps where from the time these guys get there to the time they leave, they're drunk. And I didn't want nothing to do with that. I decided I'm going to get my own hunting camp, and that's what I did. But if you're going to run a hunting camp, make sure you do it legally and do it, the right way. I know one fella, I'll give you another example. He had this guy come up to his hunting camp, and he was charging, I believe, $300 for the week. And it was all under the table, nobody knew about it. And until Revenue Canada sent him a letter in the mail. Guess what this guy did? Like, he didn't know this fella very well, but this guy owns a business, and he used it as an operating expense somehow, and used it as a deduction. Well, Revenue Canada wanted to know, like, what's going on here, right? Well, that turned into a big ball of mess there, I'll tell you what. So, yeah, if you're going to do anything, do it above board. Never mind this fly-by-night hunting camp stuff, because if you try that, you may end up losing a lot of money. So, you know, okay, so now we're going to get to why we're not seeing no deer or no moose or anything up there. And guys, we're convinced. All the guys that hunt camp are convinced, because we've been going there for a long time. And in 1999, the Ontario government decided to ban the spring bear hunt. And guys, I used to see deer every night with a flashlight, starting around, say, 10 o'clock at night. You go out there with a flashlight in my pasture, and I would see a minimum of 4 to 5 deer a night. We always seen deer when we went deer hunting. The last deer that we got was, my buddy shot the deer from the tree stand in the field about 40 feet behind my garage in the middle of the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's the kind of deer hunt that we had, and that was 2011. And guys, it's been going downhill since 2011, big time. Like, we're lucky if we even seen a deer. I do see them out in the pasture in the summertime, a little bit here and there. But what am I seeing? Bears. I mean, a lot of bears. I've shown some videos on my trail cams. Guys, we put out some deer feeders. The bears just destroyed them. I've never seen so many bears in my life. So since '99, it took a while, but the bears have been increasing in their population, and the Ministry of Natural Resources up here states 50% of all the deer and moose calves are harvested by bears. Now 50%, that's a lot. And when you get an area in Northern Ontario that has way too many bears, guess what happens? About 2 or 3 years ago, the government said, hold it a second now, maybe we should change our mind on this, because the reason they got rid of the bear hunt in Ontario had nothing to do with biology. It had to do with politics. And what I've learned in my life so far is when the government gets involved in anything, it's completely just buggered right out. The government up here doesn't let the military do their own thing, doesn't let the police do their own thing, doesn't let the Ministry of Natural Resources or Fish and Game do their thing. Everything is political. So, yeah, so they banned the bear hunt for political reasons, and that was the only reason why. And now it's backlash to them to the point where they got bears coming down even to southern Ontario. They got bears in the school grounds. They got bears everywhere. So, yeah, I wish they would just let the people at the Ministry of Natural Resources do their job and, you know, manage the fish and game up here. But, of course, they won't because, you know, the government loves to interfere where they have no knowledge. And that's what's happened. So now they've decided over the last 2 years to bring back the bear hunt. All of a sudden it was bad before, now it's good, and guess what? They bankrupted every outfitter that was doing bear hunting back then, and guys aren't getting back into it. Why should they? When the next government comes around and maybe they ban it again. So that's the problem that we're facing right now, is we've got the people in the cities running the north. And I don't know in other parts of the world, but yeah, when you get a large population in one part, you know, of a province or state, and, you know, that's where the votes are, and, you know, they control the rest of the areas as well. And the people in the city really don't know what goes on in the north. But that's where all the votes are, and that's who they cater to. And that's the problem with why we have no deer. Yeah, it's strictly, you know, management of the resources. And guys, it's going to turn around when the bear hunting goes back into play. But up at my place for the whole week, we're lucky if we heard 20 shots. I'd say in total for the whole week, 20 shots. When I used to hear 200 shots. And nobody I know up there is going back into the bear hunting. But I believe the bears will crash on their own, you know, once they realize that there is no more deer to eat. Yeah, because from what I can see is the deer population and the moose population have crashed. Can't even get a deer tag in my area no more. You can't even try to get a moose tag because you can't get one. It's almost impossible. Yeah, so the managed resources hasn't been managed very well because you have politicians involved. And politicians are just horrible. Well, you know, I'm just thinking how many politicians are watching my channel and going, wow, this guy's a little hard on the politicians. Well, guys, you know, it's something that, you know, a lot of people should really think about. You know, the resource up here in Ontario is not managed nice at all, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, you know, might be a little bit too hard on the politicians, but you know what? Politicians, they're fair game because, you know what? They have no interest most of the time in serving the people as far as I'm concerned. Most of the time they're just looking after themselves. They just want to get reelected. They couldn't care less about anything else. And some guy sitting on YouTube like me talking about deer hunting and why the population has crashed, blaming the politicians. Well, they couldn't care less about me either. So, but you know what? We have a great time when we go up there deer hunting. And, you know, that's the main thing is a lot of people, I have noticed over the years, my God, I've had guys come to my hunting camp so pissed off that they never got a deer. And, you know, like they left miserable, you know, like real miserable. They never got a deer. And I'm going, come on, give me a break. I don't think I harvested a deer until I was like 28 years old. You know, it took a long time. And back then, can you imagine when I went up in 1974, we went in by snowmobile. That's how much snow we had. Went in by snowmobile every year. There was no such thing as ATVs back then. They didn't exist. So, yeah. So, the whole thing is, when you have a hunting camp, I think the best thing is to have a lot of fun. But you know what? As a camp owner, you got to think about your liabilities. You got to think about what if and what could happen and, you know, this kind of stuff. And it's not always easy, you know, and you have to find the right mix of guys to come up. Next year, I believe I'm getting another fella. We had one guy come up for the year, 2 years ago. He come up 2 years ago. Just wanted to know what it was like coming up to a hunting camp. So this winter, he's getting his hunting license and that kind of stuff, his gun license, and he's going to be up next year too. And I got a terrific gang that comes up, and this fella is quite welcome. And that's the whole idea behind running a successful hunting camp. First thing you got to do is have the right people, have the right attitude, and have some fun. And from then on, you know, whether you get a deer or not is just icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. So that pretty well wraps it up today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're quite welcome to subscribe. And I'm going to have a lot of projects going on this winter, building stuff, and that deep fryer thing. Guys, don't waste your time with that deep fryer stuff. It is just, to me, it is just too much of a deal to go through. I'm going to show you an alternative. I don't know if it's even going to work, but I hope it does. So come back again. Guess what? Let's have some more fun. Cheers, guys.